Listen carefully, because this is where most men lose themselves. Every time life hurts, every time something goes wrong, you start searching for an escape. You distract yourself with noise, scrolling through your phone, chasing cheap dopamine, trying to numb what you're feeling. You tell yourself it's just a bad day, you'll try again later. But later never comes, because pain doesn't leave until you learn what it came to teach you. And that's why most men stay average. Not because they don't have potential, but because they run every time it gets hard. You want to become strong, confident, unshakable. Then stop escaping your pain and start embracing it. The truth is, pain isn't your enemy, it's your trainer. Every successful man you look up to, every so-called alpha or high-value figure went through pain that would have broken a weaker man. They didn't escape it. They faced it, learned from it, and let it shape them into something greater. When you stop running from pain, you start learning how to use it. Pain is pressure, and pressure builds diamonds. The same way the gym builds muscle through resistance, life builds your character through struggle. You think discipline, confidence, and strength come from comfort. No, they come from moments where everything in you wants to quit, but you don't. Every time you choose to keep going when you could have stopped, you grow. That's the difference between men who rise and men who fade. Most people fear pain because they think it means something is wrong. But pain is a signal, it's life's way of saying you're being shaped. Every setback, every betrayal, every disappointment is a lesson in disguise. You can cry, you can scream, you can feel broken, but don't run. Feel it fully. Sit with it. Understand it. Because when you understand your pain, you control it. When you avoid it, it controls you. You've got to stop looking for comfort in a world that's trying to keep you weak. Every advertisement, every distraction is designed to keep you numb, to stop you from facing yourself. Society wants you soft, addicted, emotional, lazy, and harmless. But the man who learns to endure pain becomes dangerous because he's not controlled by fear. When you start embracing your pain, you stop being a victim and start being a warrior. The next time life hits you, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? That small shift changes everything. You stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as progress. Every heartbreak taught you something about loyalty. Every failure taught you something about strategy. Every loss taught you something about strength. The universe doesn't test you to destroy you, it tests you to prepare you. Think about it, how many times did you grow the most? It wasn't when things were easy. It was when you were hurt, angry, tired, and broken. Pain forces you to reflect. It forces you to evolve. It strips away your weakness and shows you what you're made of. That's why running from pain is the same as running from growth. When you choose to embrace pain, you start taking control of your life. You no longer react emotionally to every difficulty. You start observing it, understanding it, and using it. When you get rejected, you study yourself and improve. When you fail, you re-strategize and come back stronger. That's what separates average men from high-value men. They don't see pain as a stop sign, they see it as a signal to level up. And here's the truth, no one tells you comfort destroys potential. Every time you choose the easy path, you lose a piece of your power. But every time you face pain head on, you reclaim a part of yourself you didn't even know existed. Pain unlocks hidden strength. It exposes your weaknesses so you can fix them. It humbles your ego so you can grow your mindset. It's not there to break you, it's there to build you. You must start treating pain as a tool. When life gets difficult, smile. Not because you enjoy suffering, but because you know something powerful is happening inside you. You're being reshaped. You're becoming unbreakable. The storm you're in right now isn't blocking your path, it is the path. You want to know what a high-value man really is? He's not a man who avoids pain. He's a man who knows how to convert pain into power. He doesn't complain when things go wrong. He doesn't seek pity or validation. He channels it. He turns heartbreak into discipline. He turns betrayal into fuel. He turns loss into lessons. Every ounce of pain becomes energy that moves him forward. So stop running from it. Stop looking for comfort, because comfort will never make you strong. Let pain shape you. Let it refine you. Let it push you into becoming the man you were always meant to be. The moment you stop escaping your pain is the moment you start building your power. That's when transformation begins. That's when you start becoming a high-value man. Most men never rise because they're slaves to their emotions. One day they feel motivated and unstoppable, and the next they feel tired, sad, or distracted, and everything falls apart. You can't build power that way. You can't build a legacy on mood swings. If your emotions control you, the world controls you. The high-value man understands one unshakable truth: discipline will take you places motivation never can. Motivation fades. Discipline stays. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire that keeps burning when everything else goes dark. You've got to realize your feelings are liars. They tell you to stop when you need to push harder. They tell you to rest when you haven't earned it. They tell you that you're done when you've barely started. Your emotions want comfort. Your discipline wants greatness. Every single day, you're in a war between the two, and the man you become depends on which side you choose. The high-value man doesn't ask himself how he feels. He asks himself what needs to be done. The problem today is that most men live like leaves in the wind, drifting wherever emotion blows them. They wake up and say, "I don't feel like it." And that becomes the reason their dreams die. They wait for motivation to appear, as if success will knock on their door and beg to come in. But discipline is about doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It's about showing up when it's uncomfortable, working when you're tired, and staying consistent when no one's watching. That's where your real strength is built. The truth is, emotion is temporary. Pain fades, happiness fades, excitement fades. But discipline, that's permanent. That's what separates men who talk from men who do. You can't depend on how you feel, because feelings are unstable. Some days you'll wake up ready to conquer the world, and other days you'll feel like hiding from it. Discipline is what gets you out of bed on those days when your mind tells you not to. Discipline is what keeps you grinding when your body screams to stop. A high-value man doesn't chase comfort, he chases consistency. He knows that greatness isn't built in bursts of effort. It's built in repetition, in doing the same thing over and over again until it becomes part of who you are. Every morning you wake up and stick to your routine, you're rewriting your identity. You're training your mind to obey you instead of your emotions. That's real control. That's real power. Look, your emotions can serve you if you learn to master them, but never let them lead you. If you feel angry, use that anger to fuel your focus. If you feel sad, let it remind you why you started. But don't let those emotions decide your actions. Emotions are signals, not commands. You are not your feelings, you are the one who chooses how to act despite them. When you understand that, you become untouchable. Discipline is freedom. Most people think discipline is restriction, that it takes away their comfort or their happiness, but it's the exact opposite. Discipline gives you freedom because it puts you in control. When you have discipline, you don't depend on luck or mood or motivation, you depend on yourself. You become reliable. You become consistent. You become powerful because you know that no matter what happens, you'll still show up. Every successful man you've ever admired mastered one skill: the art of doing what he said he would do. That's all discipline is. Keeping promises to yourself even when it's hard. Because every time you keep that promise, you build trust with yourself. You start believing in your own word. And once you believe in yourself, no one can break you. When you live without discipline, your life becomes chaos. You'll chase every emotion, every impulse, every distraction. You'll waste your time on temporary pleasures while your purpose rots in the background. But when you live with discipline, everything changes. You gain structure. You gain focus. You gain direction. You don't need someone to motivate you anymore because you've built a system that keeps you moving forward no matter how you feel. Discipline is what gets you through the dark days. Because make no mistake, the dark days will come. There will be mornings when you feel empty, nights when everything seems pointless, moments when quitting feels like the only option. That's where discipline saves you. When emotion wants you to stop, discipline whispers, keep going. It's not about being robotic. It's about choosing progress over comfort, purpose over pleasure, duty over distraction. You have to train your mind the way a soldier trains his body. Every time you follow through on a commitment, no matter how small, you're reinforcing that mental muscle. When you push through the workout, even though you're tired, when you stay focused on your work while everyone else is distracted, when you control your tongue when you could explode, that's discipline. That's you proving to yourself that you're in charge, not your emotions. A man who lives by discipline walks with a different kind of energy. He doesn't react impulsively. He moves with intention. You can see it in his posture, in his tone, in his focus. People can sense when a man is in control of himself. It commands respect without a word being spoken. Because discipline is rare. Most people live on autopilot, ruled by emotion. But the man who operates with discipline, he's unstoppable, because nothing external can shake his internal command. And understand this, the longer you practice discipline, the stronger it becomes. What feels difficult now will one day feel natural. Waking up early, staying consistent, saying no to distractions, it all becomes effortless when you build that foundation. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop letting excuses win. You stop needing to feel ready. You just do it. You just act. Because that's who you are now. The high-value man doesn't let emotions drive him. He drives himself through discipline. He knows that emotion can inspire him for a moment, but discipline will carry him for a lifetime. He doesn't chase motivation. He creates momentum. He doesn't seek comfort. He builds consistency. Because in the end, discipline isn't about control. It's about becoming the man who can handle anything, no matter how he feels. Confidence isn't built in comfort. It's not something you read in a book. It's not a quote you repost. And it's definitely not something you fake in front of a mirror. Real confidence comes from one thing: struggle. The kind of struggle that tests your limits, breaks your ego, and forces you to rebuild yourself from the ground up. You can't develop real confidence by avoiding pain. You earn it by facing it. Every scar, every failure, every sleepless night adds another layer of strength to your character. You see, people talk about wanting confidence like it's some magical mindset, but it's not. Confidence is proof that you've survived things that would have destroyed other people. Proof that when you were tested, you didn't quit. It's the quiet knowing that whatever comes next, you can handle it because you already handled worse. That's real confidence, and you can't buy it, borrow it, or fake it. You've got to bleed for it. Every struggle you go through is a test, and most men fail that test because they think struggle means something's wrong. They think it's a sign that they're losing. But the truth is, struggle is the birthplace of every great man. Every time you fight through hardship, you're building your foundation. When you push through rejection, when you keep going after failure, when you stand tall after heartbreak, you're teaching yourself one powerful message: I can handle this. That belief, built over time, becomes your confidence. Confidence doesn't come from other people clapping for you. It comes from knowing that you can perform when no one's watching. It comes from surviving situations that should have broken you. It comes from showing up again and again when it would have been easier to give up. That's where you find your real power. Because confidence is not loud, it's calm. It's not about shouting that you're strong, it's about being strong when it counts. Think about the moments in your life when you grew the most. They weren't easy moments. They were painful. You felt lost, frustrated, maybe even hopeless. But you made it through. You adapted. You learned. You rebuilt. And when you came out on the other side, you weren't the same person anymore. That transformation, that's confidence. It's not arrogance, it's self-trust. You trust yourself because you've earned it through struggle. The world today teaches men to avoid struggle, to choose comfort, to stay safe. But comfort kills confidence. The man who never tests himself will always doubt himself. He doesn't know what he's capable of because he's never been challenged. He's never been pushed to the edge. And when life hits, and he crumbles because he's built his identity on ease, not endurance. Confidence doesn't grow in safety, it grows in chaos. You've got to go through the dark moments to become unshackable. You've got to fail publicly, be embarrassed, lose, and still stand up. Because the man who's been through hell doesn't fear the fire. Once you've struggled and survived, the world loses its power to intimidate you. You stop caring about judgment, about failure, about opinions. You walk into every situation knowing whatever happens, I'll handle it. That's not ego, that's experience. When you face struggle, something changes inside you. You stop doubting your worth and start proving it through action. You don't need to talk about confidence anymore because it shows in the way you move, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself. People can feel it, that calm energy, That certainty that comes from knowing you've been tested and you didn't break. That's the kind of confidence no one can fake. It's easy to act confident when everything's going right. But what about when it all falls apart? That's where the real ones are separated from the pretenders. When you lose everything and still believe in yourself, that's confidence. When no one believes in you, but you keep showing up, that's confidence. When you walk into failure with your head up and say, "Let's go again," that's confidence. Every time you choose to fight instead of flee, you're building that unshakable mindset. The man who builds his confidence through struggle becomes immune to fear. Not because he never feels fear, but because he's learned to move through it. He's felt it before and survived. He's failed before and recovered. That's what makes him dangerous. Nothing surprises him anymore. Nothing shakes him because he's already faced himself. And once you've faced yourself, your pain, your weakness, your demons, there's nothing left to fear. Every challenge you overcome is a brick in the fortress of your confidence. Every difficult situation adds another layer of armor. And one day, without even realizing it, you look back and think, if I survive that, what can I survive? That's when you become unstoppable. That's when you stop hesitating, stop doubting, and start moving with conviction. You can read all the motivational quotes you want, but until you go through the grind, until you suffer, fail, and rise, you'll never understand real confidence. You've got to earn it through repetition, through discomfort, through consistency. Because confidence is not given, it's built one painful moment at a time. Stop running from struggle. Stop hiding from pressure. Every time you take on a challenge, you're sharpening yourself. Every time you survive something you thought you couldn't, you're rewriting your story. The goal isn't to avoid struggle, it's to master it. Because the man who can struggle without breaking becomes unshakable. The man who can stand tall through the storm doesn't need to pretend he's confident. He is confident because he's lived it. You cannot become a strong man in a weak environment. You cannot grow into a lion while surrounded by sheep. No matter how much motivation you have, no matter how much discipline you try to build, if the people and places around you are dragging you down, you will never rise. Your environment is either feeding your potential or poisoning it. And most men never reach their highest level, not because they lack talent, but because they refuse to leave the people and situations that keep them small. Look around you. Who do you spend most of your time with? Are they pushing you forward or are they holding you back? Do they challenge you to think bigger, move sharper, and work harder? Or do they complain, gossip, and waste time? Because the truth is, energy is contagious. If you hang around weak-minded people long enough, you start thinking like them. You start absorbing their fears, their doubts, their excuses. Without realizing it, their comfort becomes your cage. The high-value man understands this deeply. He knows his environment shapes his habits, and his habits shape his destiny. If you surround yourself with men who settle, you will start settling too. If you stay around people who waste time, you will start wasting yours. That's why you must be ruthless about your environment, not emotional ruthless, because your future depends on it. Weak environments breed weak men. When you're constantly around people who make excuses, who choose comfort over growth, who blame others for their failures, you start normalizing mediocrity. You start believing that average is acceptable, but it's not. You can't become exceptional in a place that celebrates being ordinary. You have to step out of that. You have to put yourself where growth is demanded, not optional. It's going to hurt when you start cutting people off. It's not easy to walk away from friends you've known for years. But you have to ask yourself, are they growing with me, or are they holding me hostage to my past? Because if someone's presence in your life costs you your progress, that's not friendship, that's sabotage. Real friends don't hold you down, they lift you up. They push you to become more. They call you out when you're slacking, not to criticize, but to keep you accountable. You have to protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Every conversation you entertain, every environment you step into, every person you give time to is either sharpening or dulling your edge. You can't talk about becoming a high-value man while surrounding yourself with low-value influences. You can't talk about building focus when your circle is built on distraction. If you want to grow, you must be willing to be alone until you find people who match your hunger. Silence is better than noise that weakens you. Solitude is better than company that slows you down. Because in solitude, you meet yourself, you find clarity, you hear your thoughts, your purpose, your drive. When you distance yourself from weak environments, you start to see who you really are without the noise, without the expectations, without the pressure to fit in. And once you get that level of clarity, you can never go back to living small. Most men are afraid of losing people, but what they should fear is losing themselves by keeping the wrong people close. You don't owe anyone your energy. You don't owe anyone your potential. You owe yourself the chance to grow. And that means cutting off anyone who doesn't want to rise with you. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to announce it. Just distance yourself quietly. Let your results make the noise. You have to choose your circle with precision. Surround yourself with men who want more out of life, men who work, who push, who stay disciplined even when no one's watching, men who don't need to be told what to do because they already live by purpose. When you're around men like that, you level up automatically. Their mindset rubs off on you. Their ambition infects you. You start to see that your standards were too low all along. A high-value man doesn't stay in environments that drain him. He walks away without guilt because he knows his energy is sacred. He knows his time is precious. He understands that his mission requires focus, and focus cannot exist in chaos. If your environment is filled with distractions, people who bring drama, negativity, or laziness, you must clear it out. A lion cannot hunt while surrounded by noise. You also have to be honest about your own weakness. Sometimes it's not just the people holding you back, it's the comfort of the environment itself. Maybe it's the same room, the same city, the same habits that keep you stagnant. Sometimes, to grow, you need a change of scenery. You need to throw yourself into places where you're forced to adapt, forced to improve, forced to fight for your next level. Growth doesn't happen where you feel safe, it happens where you feel pressure. You have to build an environment that demands greatness from you every day. Surround yourself with people who make you feel uncomfortable about staying the same. Be around those who inspire you to do better, who challenge your thinking, who make you realize that what you thought was enough was actually your minimum, because that's how you evolve. Iron sharpens iron, not foam, not paper, iron. The moment you upgrade your environment, your standards rise automatically. You start moving differently. You start talking differently. You start thinking differently. Because your environment is a mirror, it reflects your mindset. When you keep yourself around excellence, excellence becomes your normal. And when mediocrity tries to come back into your life, it won't feel comfortable anymore. You'll feel allergic to it. That's when you know you've outgrown your old circle. Remember this, if you want to change your life, change your environment first. Change who you listen to, who you spend time with, what you consume, and where you put your energy. Because the people around you are either building your empire or burning it down slowly. You owe it to yourself to create a space that feeds your focus, not your weakness. The man who learns to walk away from weak environments becomes unstoppable, because nothing around him has the power to pull him back down. Every man faces pain. Every man has scars. But what separates the weak from the powerful is what they do with that pain. Most men let pain destroy them. They drown in it. They let it define their identity and dictate their future. But the high-value man, he uses pain as fuel. He doesn't let it consume him. He converts it into power. Pain without purpose is poison, but pain with purpose becomes your greatest weapon. The question isn't whether you'll experience pain. The question is whether you'll let it break you or build you. When you go through something that hurts, it's easy to sit there and ask, why me? But that question keeps you trapped. The right question is, what can I do with this? Because every painful experience carries potential energy, and what you do with that energy decides your destiny. You can either waste it on anger, self-pity, and excuses, or you can channel it into something meaningful. You can use it to drive you, sharpen you, and remind you why you started. Think about the greatest men in history, the ones who changed their lives, their families, or the world. Every single one of them went through something that should have destroyed them. But instead of staying broken, they turned that pain into purpose. They took their suffering and built meaning out of it. That's what you need to do. Take every heartbreak, every rejection, every failure, and use it as a reason to rise higher. Pain is energy, it's raw power. When you focus it, it becomes unstoppable. But when you waste it, it turns toxic. That's why so many men stay stuck. They never learn to direct their pain. They let it sit in their chest, eating them alive, instead of turning it into movement. You have to flip the switch. If you've been betrayed, let that betrayal make you sharper. If you failed, let that failure make you hungrier. If you've been abandoned, let that loneliness teach you independence. The same energy that could destroy you is the same energy that can make you unstoppable if you channel it right. You have to make your pain mean something. Otherwise, it wins. When you give your suffering a purpose, it transforms. That's why the most driven people in the world are the ones who've been through the most. Their pain gave them a reason. They don't need motivation, they have memory. They remember the times they were underestimated, ignored, rejected, humiliated, and they turn that into power. Every time they feel like quitting, they think of that pain, and it pushes them further. Pain will either make you bitter or make you better. The difference is perspective. Weak men let pain harden their hearts. Strong men let pain sharpen their focus. Pain doesn't have to make you cold, it can make you calculated. It doesn't have to make you cruel. It can make you controlled. The moment you stop resenting your pain and start respecting it, it becomes your teacher. It shows you where you need to grow, what you need to fix, and who you need to become. Most people spend their lives running from pain, but you can't escape it. It's part of existence. What you can do is decide that if you're going to suffer, it won't be for nothing. You'll turn that suffering into strength. Every hardship will become a lesson. Every setback will become a setup. You'll take all that emotion, all that hurt, and pour it into something that matters. That's what gives your pain meaning. That's what gives it purpose. When you start using pain this way, something inside you changes. You stop being reactive. You stop acting like a victim. You start seeing everything that happens to you as raw material for your evolution. You realize that every disappointment, every failure, every challenge was a part of the process, a step in shaping you into the man you were meant to become. You stop seeing pain as something to escape and start seeing it as a resource to master. And let's be real, pain is the most honest motivator you'll ever have. Comfort lies to you. Comfort whispers, you're fine where you are. Pain screams, you can do better. That's why pain is necessary. It wakes you up. It breaks the illusion of safety. It reminds you that you're capable of more than you think. But you have to stop wasting it. You have to start turning it into purpose. When something hurts, channel that emotion into action. Lift heavier, work longer, focus harder, speak less, execute more. You can't control when pain hits, but you can control what you do with it. When life punches you, punch back by leveling up. When people doubt you, use that doubt as fuel. When you lose, let that loss remind you what winning feels like. Pain only has power over you if you let it. But when you take that same pain and make it the reason you rise, now you control it. Purpose gives pain direction. Without purpose, pain feels endless. But when you have something bigger to fight for, a goal, a mission, a vision, pain becomes bearable. You start seeing it as the price of progress. You no longer ask, when will this end? You start asking, how can I use this to get better? That shift turns suffering into strength. There's a kind of man who goes through pain and comes out bitter, blaming the world for his misery. And then there's the man who goes through the same pain and comes out wiser, sharper, and more dangerous because he turned it into something. He didn't just endure the pain, he used it. That's the man who wins. That's the man who becomes untouchable. When you learn to turn pain into power, everything changes. You no longer fear failure because you know it feeds your growth. You no longer run from discomfort because you know it sharpens your edge. You no longer see loss as tragedy because you know it's a test. You start using every emotion, every wound, every setback as energy to build something greater. And once you master that, once you learn to turn pain into purpose, you become unstoppable because nothing that was meant to hurt you can hold you back anymore. Every man has a choice. He can live like the majority, chasing attention, validation, temporary pleasure, or he can rise above the noise and build a legacy. The high-value man doesn't wake up thinking about what he can get. He wakes up thinking about what he can build. He doesn't crave comfort. He craves impact. He understands that life is short, and everything he does today becomes the story that people will tell tomorrow. Legacy isn't about money or fame, it's about leaving behind strength, wisdom, and discipline that outlasts you. It's about becoming the kind of man whose presence changes rooms and whose absence is felt long after he's gone. A lot of men talk about success. They talk about getting rich, getting fit, or becoming known. But that's not legacy. Success fades. Legacy lives. You can buy a car and lose it. You can make money and spend it. You can gain attention and watch it disappear. But who you become, that's what remains. The high-value man doesn't just build for himself. He builds something that echoes. He builds systems, mindsets, and habits that continue to grow even when he's not around. That's real power. That's the kind of strength no one can take from you. To build a legacy, you must first master yourself. You cannot lead others until you've conquered your own chaos. You can't inspire if you're inconsistent. Discipline is the foundation of every legacy. Every great empire, every movement, every dynasty, they all began with one man who refused to break. A man who decided that his pain, his past, his mistakes would no longer define him. The high-value man takes full responsibility for his life. He doesn't blame, he doesn't wait, he doesn't complain. He moves with purpose because he knows every decision he makes either strengthens or weakens his legacy. Legacy requires vision. You have to see beyond the moment. Most men only see what's in front of them: the next paycheck, the next relationship, the next distraction. But the man who builds a legacy thinks in decades. He plants seeds today that will feed generations tomorrow. He doesn't just want to win for himself. He wants to create a foundation for those who come after him. He wants his name to stand for something. When people mention him, they don't just say he was successful. They say he was solid. They say he lived by principles. They say he made them better. But here's the truth. Building a legacy means sacrifice. You can't have it all. You can't chase pleasure and build permanence. You can't live for comfort and expect greatness. Every great man has walked through fire. He's endured rejection, isolation, doubt, and still moved forward. Because legacy demands consistency. It demands that you show up even when it's boring, even when it's painful, even when no one claps for you. The high-value man understands that his actions today become the blueprint others will follow. If he quits when it's hard, he teaches others to do the same. If he stands tall through struggle, he teaches resilience. That's how you build a legacy, by being the example. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you build your legacy. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you build your legacy. Every time you choose silence over useless talk, effort over excuses, strength over emotion, you build your legacy. Because legacy isn't built in public, it's built in private. It's the work no one sees. It's the decisions you make when no one's watching. It's how you treat people when there's nothing to gain. It's how you handle failure, betrayal, and pressure. Those small moments repeated over time become your reputation, and your reputation becomes your legacy. The world is full of men who wasted their potential because they never thought long term. They lived for the moment, they chased validation, and when the spotlight faded, there was nothing left. Don't be that man. Be the one who builds. Be the one who stands firm when others fall apart. Because legacy isn't built overnight. It's built through repetition, through endurance, through years of doing what's right, not what's easy. The high-value man knows that legacy is his true currency. Money loses value. Looks fade. Fame dies. But your name, your principles, your impact, they echo. To build a legacy, you must live with intention. Every action must align with your purpose. You can't move aimlessly and expect direction. You have to know who you are and what you stand for. When you know your values, you become unshakable. People can't manipulate you. Society can't distract you. You move differently. You talk differently. You walk with conviction. Because you're not just living for today, you're building for tomorrow. That mindset separates men who fade from men who endure. The high-value man doesn't seek recognition, he seeks respect. He doesn't chase people, he attracts them through his character. He doesn't need to prove himself because his results speak louder than his words. Every day, he's investing in himself, reading, training, building, improving. He's not obsessed with being liked, he's obsessed with being effective. Because he knows the truth: popularity fades, but respect lasts. When you live with discipline and integrity long enough, the world remembers. People may forget what you said or did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. That's legacy. And don't think legacy means perfection. The high-value man isn't flawless, he's focused. He knows he'll fail, but he never stops learning. He knows he'll stumble, but he never stops walking. Every scar, every setback becomes a part of his story. He doesn't hide his past, he uses it. He shows others that you can fall and still rise stronger. That's what makes a legacy powerful, not pretending to be perfect, but proving that you can overcome. Legacy also means contribution. What are you giving to the world? Because a man who only takes will never be remembered. The high-value man gives his time, his effort, his wisdom. He lifts others up. He teaches what he's learned. He helps people become stronger. Because greatness that dies with you isn't greatness, it's selfishness. True greatness multiplies. It creates more strength, more purpose, more leaders. That's how you make your name eternal, by making others better. At the end of the day, a high-value man doesn't live for applause. He lives for alignment. He doesn't build a legacy for fame. He builds it because he refuses to waste his existence. He knows that one day the noise will fade, the lights will dim, and only one thing will remain: the impact he made through his actions, his discipline, his courage, and his purpose. Because that's the essence of being a high-value man, not what you have, but what you leave behind. At the end of it all, the journey of becoming a high-value man isn't about perfection, it's about transformation. It's about taking every scar, every heartbreak, every loss, and turning it into strength. Pain was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to awaken you. Every challenge you faced was a test, every setback a lesson, every disappointment a redirection toward your higher self. The difference between the man who stays broken and the man who rises is simple. One runs from pain, the other learns from it. One seeks comfort, the other seeks growth. To be a high-value man means you stop allowing the world to define your worth. You stop chasing validation and you start chasing vision. You stop reacting to life and you start building it. You understand that your emotions are signals, not prisons that discipline, not desire builds power. You stop being the man who complains and become the man who creates. You turn pain into purpose and purpose into progress. You realize that life will never stop testing you, but that's exactly what forges greatness. You welcome the storms because you know they reveal your strength. You embrace the pressure because it shapes your power. Every sleepless night, every rejection, every sacrifice, they're not punishment, they're preparation. They're sculpting you into someone who can't be broken by circumstances because he's built from conviction. The high-value man lives by principle, not popularity. He builds in silence. He moves with purpose. He leads by example. He's not here to impress, he's here to impact. His confidence doesn't come from external validation, but from internal mastery. His power doesn't come from dominance, but from discipline. And his legacy isn't built on what he owns, but on who he becomes. So if you truly want to transform pain into power, stop running from your struggle and start using it. Let your failures educate you. Let your heartbreaks humble you. Let your suffering sharpen you. Turn every ounce of pain into fuel for something greater. Because the day you stop fearing pain is the day you start mastering life. Remember this, the world doesn't need more comfortable men. It needs stronger men, focused men, men of integrity, men who turn pain into purpose, fear into fuel, and weakness into wisdom. Be that man. Build your discipline. Protect your values. Lead with strength. And when life tests you, as it always will, don't break, don't bend, don't run. Rise. Stand tall and show the world what it looks like when pain becomes power.